Hi guys, I'm Dr. Jenny White, a dentist in Sarasota, Florida, and her fearless patient Susan with our podcast, Open Wide, Unfiltered Opinions Between a Dentist and Her Patient. Over the past 25 years or so, I've been sitting in a little room talking to myself all day, and I've gained a lot of wisdom through that process, which I want to share with you. We hope our podcast casts optimism and fearlessness to you so you can rise to the top, stay at the top, and dream bigger than you've ever imagined. So on today's Soup du Jour, we have the life of a trad wife. Had you ever heard of a trad, T-R-A-D, wife?
Yes.
Susan.
My mother was a trad wife.
But had you heard of that term? I mean, yes,
Well,
I know a traditional mother.
Yeah.
But I
okay.
never heard of a trad wife.
Okay, no, I think that's a new coined term.
It's
right?
a phenomenon.
Yeah.
Anyway, I never thought I'd be in this position. I am from West Virginia. I'm not an educator on terminology, so take everything with a grain of salt. Sorry, West Virginia. I'd also like to mention that I'm not on social media. I've never had a Facebook, Instagram, all of that. So it was hard for me to research what everybody was doing, the trad wives were doing. But what I could see was very interesting. So let's go. According to Google's AI overview, the trad wife is a married woman who, driven by belief in traditional gender roles, chooses to stay at home to care for household and children, while her husband works outside the home to provide for the family. This lifestyle is often associated with a preference for traditional aesthetics, such as vintage fashion. Oh, I can't go for that. Cooking from scratch, I could go from that. Meticulous homemaking, yeah, I'm down. And is heavily promoted on social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram. Would you agree?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Okay. One of our amazing podcasting crew members, who will remain nameless, mentioned the trad wife Instagram account called Ballerina Farm. So I thought we would start there, Ballerina Farm. I Googled it, and Hannah Nealman, a beautiful, beautiful girl. She is the trad wife, and her company or farm that they live on in Utah is called Ballerina Farm. She is much more of a woman than I am. She's a former ballerina. Obviously, we are not doing that. She has 8 children from what I could see. Lives on a remote ranch. She gives birth at home. She competes in beauty pageants. And it says on the cover of Cowgirl magazine that she's built a farm, a family, and a 20 million strong worldwide following. Susan, it's time for us to get pregnant.
Oh, my God. In a million years, that wouldn't be me. Well, go ahead. I've got a lot to say.
She's located in Utah, and I don't know if she's Mormon, but I wonder because of Utah. If she is Mormon, that would make sense because the wives obey the husbands, and marriage is for procreation mainly. I think that would be a check mark in this case. I was only able to watch one video of Hannah in the kitchen making a sandwich, so again, my knowledge is limited. I'm happy for her from what I saw, but I'm also sad for her. If, and there is zero judgment here, if your passion is making homemade laundry detergent, having home births, cooking from scratch, raising these 8 children, and being a wife to allow your family to be as organic with the earth as possible, she's found her passion, or her ikigai, so to speak, the Japanese term.
We talked about it in a previous podcast. Yeah.
Yes, and I imagine that putting it on social media has made her toughen her outer skin. But I wonder for a second if she ever wonders what it would be like to have an apartment in New York or San Francisco, climb the ballerina modeling or corporate ladder, and see where her success leads. Broadway, Wall Street. Would she experience how to hail a Waymo, monthly rent expenditures, kind of understand what Sex and the City, that TV show, was about? I don't know, just 2 different worlds. She's made her choice, and I respect that. What do you think about the Ballerina Farm situation?
Well, I'll just say about trad wives in general, like usually people say that trad wives is sort of the antidote to feminism. But to be perfectly honest, Feminism is all about you make a choice for yourself. Women get the chance to make whatever choice they want for themselves. So in that way, it's really good. And in that way, sort of feminism kind of birthed traditional wives. So the women are making the choice. And good for her for making the choice that she wants to make. I have some real worry about her down the road, but we can talk about that in a minute. Or I don't mean to single her out, by the way. I mean, there's a lot of people in this group. But I also want to make a point about social media. It seems to be revering this trad wife wave that's going on right now. And if it hadn't been for social media, other people wouldn't probably buy into it. But they make it look like it's fun and it's good and it's, something that women should be doing and it's the natural role for women. But there's a real downside to that, too. And let me just make one more point about Ballerina Farms. This woman who espouses to be just home taking care of the kids and making laundry detergent, whatever she is also the CEO of that particular firm. So she does have her own money. She does have make her own decisions, and she has some influence within that family. Often those things go away when you are a traditional trad wife. I just want to point that out.
My mother was a traditional wife, and I don't think she enjoyed it one bit. She always told me when I was older that having children sucked all the calcium out of her bones and teeth, and that's why she had horrible teeth.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Thank you, Diane. She also told me that she was stuck at home and my father was the one that got to get up and take a shower and get dressed and go off to work and leave the house all day and left her with the children. So I don't think she enjoyed being a trad wife. I think she wishes that she could have been working and doing, but que sera, sera. I turned out fine, or so I think.
Yes, you did.
Back then, though, that was the norm. Women stayed at home and the man worked. But times have changed, and to her credit, being a mother, as my mother was, a traditional mother, was a zillion times harder than getting up and going to a dental office, as my father did, and handling that. Also, I wanted to add for the Ballerina Farm gal, her husband's father, from what I could see online, he founded JetBlue, the airline. So, they're not missing a farm payment. And I saw them unload 12 cows at their farm. And I was thinking, oh gosh, where are you going to put these animals and how does all that work? And this semi truck pulled up to this. I mean, this barn was the fanciest thing I'd ever seen. It had computers in there that would milk the cows and everything was automated. And they were putting like tracker tracer devices on the necks of it was a big deal, but good for her if this is what she wants to do. But like you pointed out, she might have a little contradiction if she is a CEO.
Oh, she has a big contradiction. There's no question about it. But there are women who are traditionally at home and they, are married to less successful people and they themselves have no source of income through either social media, which, by the way, a lot of the folks who are on social media are branding and they're getting money from social media. So, but there are women that do that. And for those women, I'm very worried because they're not developed. They don't have any social security.
Right.
So if marriages fall apart, as 50% of the marriages in the United States do, then they have no social security. They're often single mothers trying to raise children. They can't get into the workforce because there isn't any skill base that they've developed that gets them into the workforce. So they're always falling below because they've chosen this role. I'm not saying it's bad. My mother stayed home too. And I'm sure we are better off because she stayed home. Although I don't know, are there statistics about moms who raised children who stayed home and those who didn't? There probably is. We should know that for a future podcast. But I'm all for it if that's what you want to do. But you've got to protect those women if the thing falls apart. If the construct falls apart, there has to be a way to protect those women. And I don't know that there is.
Pema Chodron, the Buddhist teacher, she has a book that's called When Things Fall Apart. Not if. When.
Yeah.
When.
Of course, yeah.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Did your mother also tell you that having children sucked the calcium out of her bones?
No, but here's what she did say. So I come from a family of 7. I have 6 brothers. She would say to me regularly, I would raise 100 boys over 1 girl any day of the week. Thanks, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
Yeah. But to your point, though, she was a stay-at-home mom until most of us were out of high school. And then she went to work as an office manager, and she sort of became this important office manager in this firm. for the educators, the teachers union in New Hampshire, and she loved that job, and she was great at it, and she loved that she had her own money, and she, had her own independence, and so it was really, really good for her. So she had really the best of both worlds.
She would be an amazing employee because, or owner of whatever, because she's raised all those children
Yeah,
successfully.
I guess.
You
Yeah, I
know, I
guess that
mean,
was part of
I
it.
think success raising that many kids is no one died along the way.
Yeah, no, that's
like
true.
literally, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
All right, so I also jumped into researching a gal named Kelly Haven. She is in Ohio. And the one video I watched was very faith-filled. A few children, I'm guessing probably ages 6 to 8. And she also had a new baby. She appeared to me to be a no makeup, made her own clothes and the clothes for her children. And she read the Bible by the light of a candle, either early in the morning or the evening. I'm not sure if she has electricity, and I hope so because West Virginia is close to Ohio, and I know how hot and how cold it can get up there. But, that's beside the point. The worry I have here is that the world is 180 degrees from how she is raising her children. So when they apply to college or they get their first job or they need to interact with the outside world, it will be a shock to their system. And I think the shock will make them revert back into their homemade hole and hide out. I don't think, unless these children get exposure to the outside world like most kids do, and you have a little bit more balance, I think, I don't know, I think the scales are tipped really far
Yeah.
to one side.
Well, how did you hear about her?
Just
social media?
Just the internet.
Yeah. So she's also on social media because she wants people.
Yes.
So she's benefiting
Yep.
somehow from being on social media. Either it's a vanity thing for her or she's getting money, one or the other.
Good point. I also read online that back when she was in college, her college friends saw her lying in the grass when it was raining. She dressed like a hippie and she walked around barefoot, yet she had a Mac computer. So, and again, another, if you're going to be, I don't know.
Yeah, but I also want to push back on that a little bit because choice is important. And again, it's rooted in feminism. You get whatever choice you want. So if you want to be a hippie and read the Bible by candlelight and have a Mac computer, God bless you.
Well, no, I think she was a hippie in college, but now she's turned into a trad wife, meaning dresses and,
Anyway.
But she is a fundamentalist Christian.
Right.
This is not something that I would do, but hooray that we live in a country
that
where
allows,
whatever
Amen.
choice you want to make, have at it.
Right. Now, I will say that I did read that a lot of the trad wife websites or social media circles are also tied to alternative and conspiracy theory websites. So I think there's an algorithm that shows like if you're this, you're also that. And I think that's another element that we probably won't talk about today, but that's a weirder element for me.
This just came to my mind because when our mothers were traditional wives, you stayed at home. You did not have a source of income. Social media has blown that out of the water. Now you can be a traditional wife and you can have a wonderful income stream and all because of social media. I know that my mother would not allow herself to be photographed if she did not have hair and makeup done. Like that was mandatory for her, but she's Southern. So the income stream thing is interesting for the traditional wives of today.
Yeah.
Because even without trying, just taking what you have and putting it on social media generates the income stream potentially for you.
Right, right.
So I also looked into a gal named Nara Smith, beautiful gal. Her husband is also a model, Lucky Blue Smith. He's about, they're I'm guessing 23 to 25 years old. And they're Mormon. She's a South African German model and influencer. They just bought a home in the nick of time so Nara can have her fourth baby in the house. The current children, I loved this, are Slim Easy. I was wondering.
That's their names?
These are the children's names. Slim Easy. And I'm thinking, was that the birthing process?
Yeah.
Rumble Honey. Again, birthing process. Whimsy Lou. I think they went off the rails for that one. And I don't know what the fourth child's name is going to be. But Nara considers herself a minimalist and thinks that a gift from Tiffany's is the best breakfast, according to Instagram. There's a common thread
I want to
here.
understand what that means. So she loves Tiffany's? Is that
She
what
loves Tiffany's. So I don't understand how we can be a traditional wife who wants Tiffany's for breakfast. But again, I believe they're fundamentalist Christians. I might be getting this wrong, or maybe she's Mormon. I forget. But again, you've got the religious aspect, you've got the income aspect, and
Yeah.
we're covering it with a title called trad wife.
Right. Yeah, and we don't mean to call out these individual women, but they've
Oh,
called
no.
themselves out on social media, so they're kind of fair game for this discussion, I think. But I think the most important thing to think about is, yeah, do what you want. You want to be a trad wife, go ahead. But understand there's some dark side to that, just as there's dark sides to being girl boss. You know what I mean? Which
Yes.
is a sort of anecdote to trad wife. There's dark sides, and you end up sort of on the losing end of the stick if it doesn't work out, I think.
So the last one that I have for us today in the trad wife realm, say that fast 5 times, trad wife, realm. Okay, anyway, Gwen the milkmaid. I just had to pick that one because of this name. Gwen. Okay, I could not determine if she's married or not. There's rumors that she lives in the suburbs and does not really live the homesteader lifestyle. And one of her lines was, our husbands are to be the breadwinners and we the bread makers. Prior to being a trad wife, she was a lesbian and fashion influencer. Her current videos portray her wandering through meadows, cooking, feeding animals, and criticizing the government for forcing kids into public schools while wearing a floral print dress. Again, personally, if I wanted to live the trad life, and this is just me, I'd clean up my personal what's out there about me probably first, and then pursue my trad wife life online. Online is tricky.
Yeah,
like
very.
all of your history
Yeah.
comes to the forefront.
Right.
So, again, like you said, I'm not picking people out to pick on them.
But they put themselves out there.
They
for
put
us.
themselves
Yeah.
out there. And with a name like Gwen the milkmaid,
Yeah, which is on purpose so that you would pick her
click
out,
on
right?
it.
Yeah.
Right. There you go. So
Let me just make one more point about trad wives. So if you think about feminism and the rise of women's rights, there's sort of 3 distinct parts of history. The first is being in American history, I should say. The first is being in 1840 something, so maybe 60 something, where the first women's convention took place in Seneca Falls, New York. That was the very first time women got together to say, hey, wait a minute, like we need a vote, we need to, we need different things. And that was followed then by a more traditional life like our parents had, right? And then in 1960s and 70s, the feminist movement that we knew, the Betty Friedan, the Gloria Steinem, those kind of girls came up and started to really start to say to us, you don't need to be the traditional wife. You can be out in the workforce. You can be making money. You can be making decisions. You can be in the boardroom. And then that was followed again by more of a period of people spend more tradition. Then there was the rise of feminism in the late 80s, early 90s. And this I remember because I was working then, and women would wear these little scarves like bow ties. You had to dress like men. And the theory then was, don't do that. Dress like yourself. Dress like a woman. Okay, so then there was that. Now this is followed by a kind of trad life. My point is there's cyclical parts of life that you have a little bit of this, and then it goes back to that, and a little bit more of this, and then it goes back to that. And that happens in everywhere in life. But it seems to be happening with women and women's roles and women's rights, particularly as it relates to this rise in trad wife movement that's going on right now.
that is so interesting, and I agree 1,000%.
Yeah.
And I have clothes that represent each different
Yeah.
era because in the 80s and 90s, all the women were dressing like guys.
Yeah.
You had the Katharine Hepburn high trousers and all
Right.
that. My problem was I threw all that out, and then we go into the other phase,
Yeah.
and then I threw all that out, and then
Yeah.
I need to hang on to this because it is cyclical.
Yeah, it's
You're
very,
exactly right.
yeah, it's very, very, very.
This is a moment in time for
Yeah.
for,
Oh, I
for the
agree.
trad wives.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a moment.
And it's also, to your earlier point, it's also a place where some women are like, oh, here's a way I can make a niche for myself. And social media plays such a major role in this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Do you have any thoughts regarding, I know you've talked about their futures, potential fears that you have regarding the outcome. Anything else you'd like to add about?
Well, only two thoughts. One is that some of what's happening now, I think, is coming from a disdain about the workplace. The workplace has just become, I don't know, too hard, too competitive, the path doesn't seem clear for women anymore. So I think that might be, so they're reverting back to what they can do. So there's some of that. I think that's going on. But mostly I'm very, very concerned that women who don't have a income and don't develop a social security pattern are going to be left much more worse off. And I don't know if there's some sort of system that can be developed where housewives get paid, because it's an important job. Don't get me wrong, but you need to. But it's unpaid labor, and they're always going to be on the losing end of that stick.
Maybe in high school we could have Housewife University, and if you complete your Housewife University and you get your degree, like you're applying for a job, and then you have children.
I had to go to cooking school and sewing school. Remind me someday.
We did too.
No, I'm going to bring in the thing I made. I still have it because it's such an embarrassment. The thing I had to make in sewing school, I'm going to bring it in sometime. Which is the reason why I think I'm not a trad wife. It was started in high school where I had to take cooking and sewing classes. I'm like, yeah, this isn't for me. I better bone up on finance and accounting here.
I had to make a pair of shorts in home ec, and the test at the end of the class was you had to try them on.
Yeah.
I couldn't get into the shorts. So I think I failed.
Yeah, you failed.
But I made it through.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Anyway, so, this concept of being a mother it's old and it's new, thanks to social media. And like I said, my mother would roll in her grave if a picture of her went on the internet without her lipstick on. No way. Her lipstick color, by the way, was Rimini Rose Frost by Borghese.
Oh, my God. You still remember that?
I remember it.
My mother had frosted lips, too.
Oh.
Because they were, wait a minute, I got to tell you. So they were important sometime in the 50s or something.
Yeah.
When she's 80, she still has the frosted lips on. And I'm like, Mom, we need to change this color. This is awful on you, because she looks like a cadaver at 80, right? Oh, my God.
We can, you can still get that Rimini Rose Frost by Borghese on eBay. On eBay. It's sold on eBay. So in summary, I'm still confused as to why this subject is even worthy of discussion. But, I'm glad I learned something today. We all know what a traditional wife's role is, but I'm really happy you joined us in our adventure regarding the trad wives. Regardless if you're a trad, non-trad, wife, non-wife, we thank you sincerely for listening to our show. And that would be a trad wrap on the trad wife by the trad dentist and her trad patient. Woohoo! We thank you for listening and hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, please share this show with friends and family and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This way, you'll never miss weekly drops. Stay strong, dream big, and floss your teeth.